Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you may be across this great world of ours. Today is July 21st, 2026, and it is day 40 of my video challenge. So I took yesterday off. Yeah, no, I didn't miss it. I took it off. I decided to take it off. It was my birthday yesterday, July 20th. And so one of the parts of this video challenge is that I'm trying to break away from perfectionism, which was really holding me back from doing anything in the past. So the perfectionism was creating fear, and it was just shutting me down. And so while having 38 days in a row of straight videos was fantastic and very important for me, because there were times where I didn't want to like do a video and I almost allowed myself to skip it. Um, Yesterday, I sat down and I was in front of my camera equipment and I was getting ready to do it. And I was just kind of sitting there and I was just like, you know what? I've got other things I want to be doing. And it just was not in me to do a video. I just, nothing wanted to come up as far as something to talk about. I just wanted to go out and enjoy my birthday day. I had just had other things I wanted to focus on me, um, and I did, and and I'm glad I did. Right? I just and saying, you know what, I'm choosing to take today off. I could sit down, I could crank out a video if I wanted to. I could just get on and go blah 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 blah, right? But it was good for me to also be able to sit down and just say, you know what, I am taking today off and it's okay. And this is the perfect thing for me to do, right? It's just fine. Um, so I'm back at it today, and today, no problem. I'm like, you know what? I am ready to talk about stuff. It's not a problem. Um, Excuse me. And so today, what I want to talk about are so yesterday, as I was, this happens every birthday. I just do a mental review of the last year, and it's always very easy for me to only see what hasn't been done, what hasn't been accomplished. That's just so easy. That's just, I don't even have to try. Um, but this time I said, I'm trying to balance that old habit of only looking to see what hasn't been done and balance it out with looking to see what has been accomplished. The things that I did do. And maybe I don't even, a lot of the times I'll do stuff and I don't even give myself real credit for the stuff that I did. So, and I want to change that because one of the things that it's just a phrase that I came across when I first moved back to Kansas City was it was a thing that said celebrate all wins, CAW, right? Caw, celebrate all wins. And the reason why the person who was espousing this was, really espousing it so much is that they also knew that it's very easy for us, for people, to only think about what hasn't been done. And that's really, really hard on ourselves. That is just puts a lot of stress on you. Um, it and it puts too much stress, and it's not truthful. It's not honest, right? It's not honest when we only think about the things that we haven't accomplished, and it puts too much stress, and it really takes the wind out of your sails, right? Because whatever wherever you're wherever your focus is, that's where your energy goes. And if you're only focusing on what didn't happen, you're not putting any energy into the things that did happen and giving them momentum. Um, and yeah, you need to, the areas that your accomplishments, your achievements, the areas where you got better at certain things, those need momentum or they die. They die on the vine. They don't continue to grow. So it's really important to really look at that. So that's what I'm going to do right now. Like I look back and last summer, I suddenly decided that I didn't really want to work at the place I was working anymore. And I reached out and I was looking around for jobs and I found a new job fairly quickly within like a month and a half. And it's not, it's not what I could, it's still a sort of just entry level job kind of a thing. It's not like a high level career making a really good salary. But I was able to do that. I I said, wow, I don't like working here anymore. This is really shifting directions and I don't want to go in that direction. And I reached out and in a fairly short period of time, I found another job. And then I started that job and I have, in, the past year, I have learned that, everything you need to do that job really well. And I'm doing really well in it. So that's another win. I applied myself to find the job, and then when I got the job, I applied myself to learn the job, and I'm doing well in it, and that's a win. Um, and then I got to a point where I really felt like I needed some help. I was just not feeling good, and instead of just stewing in all of that unhappiness, I reached out. I reached out to some people and they gave me some resources and I reached out to those resources and I found the help that I needed. And I feel really good about that. Um, and I got more involved, with my community instead of just, sitting at home and feeling miserable. I said, well, I'm going to feel miserable either way, so I might as well, reach out and be amongst uh, people in a positive way and do things that make me feel good. And I did. I've been more involved with my community. I gotten more involved with my family, who I hadn't been spending a lot of time with, and I was feeling a lot of regret about that. And I did. I reached out, and I've really, uh, in a mindful way, in an upfront mindful way, and said, "Hey, I want to, instead of just sort of getting together whenever, or the holidays or whatever, be more intentional about connecting and spending time together and communicating." And that's happened, right? And then, in January, my cat that has been my pal and roommate for 10 years, since I moved in to this place, moved back to Kansas City and moved into my aunt's old house. She had to be put down. Her body was failing. It was just failing. It had been failing for a year. And she was getting to the point where it was just getting worse and worse, and it was really running me down. Um, and I reached out to several, veterinarians and people who worked in that and who've been in those situations before, and they all said, you know, um, it's just going to get really bad. Like the pain is going to increase as the organs continue to fail, and it's just not going to get any better. The longer you wait, the worse it's going to get. And so, instead of taking her to the vet and having them euthanize her there, I found resources where a vet would come to my house and do an in-house process. And so I just hated the idea of having her go to the vet, which always traumatized her. She loved the house. She'd been a stray for 6 years before I moved in, and then she just won my heart and became a really good friend. And so I wanted to do the right thing by her, and I brought the vet, and the vet, she was just phenomenal, just an amazing human and also veterinary doctor, and she made this process as just as painless and loving as it could ever be. And instead of me, even in the midst of all of, the craziness going on in my life, I had the strength and the courage and the intestinal, the emotional wherewithal to sit with my friend and be there with her as she was being euthanized, so that she would not feel abandoned or lonely or scared. And that was really hard, and I did it. And I did that. And so, yeah, like I could look back on my last year and think of all the ways that my life wasn't. And certainly, there was some of that. But when I sit down and I even just I didn't even spend a lot of time on this list, and I was able to jot down all those things. And I feel really good about what I did accomplish, despite my challenges, whatever else was going on in my life. And that's what we all need, all of us. We all need to do that, because I guarantee you, when you sit down and you think about all the challenges you navigated and all the ways that you improved yourself and all the hard choices you made, despite everything that's going on in your life, I guarantee you're going to be proud of yourself. You are. And this kind of goes to, making a gratitude list every day. And, the gratitude list, God, it sounds so trite, but this is part of that. This is part of, in our Monday morning quarterbacking, looking at all the things that went right, that we did accomplish, that we did, me getting my taxes done on time, all the things that I could have failed on, but I didn't. And feeling good about that and being like, you know what? Yeah, like I did all of that. And I encourage you to do that as well. And maybe we do that like once a month, sit down and just look back in that month and just jot down all the things that come to mind where like you had a win, and it doesn't even have to be a big win. It can be small wins. There's still wins. Wins are wins. And where your focus goes, your energy flows. And so when you're focusing on the areas that you did well, when you're focusing on your wins, then you're giving momentum to that, and it's going to make you feel better about things. So that was my birthday gift to myself. And I hope each and every one of you watching gives that to yourself as well, regardless of when your birthday is. Just sit down and write down a list of everything that, all of your accomplishments, all the things that have gone right in the last year. And I bet it'll surprise you a lot, and it'll certainly make you feel good. So if you're still with me, please consider hitting the like button. It's free for you, and it helps me more than you know. And I'm going to leave it there. So always remember, you are more loved than you know, and far more valuable than you can imagine. Take care, and I look forward to seeing you all tomorrow.